and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Garden of Truth. I'm Lottner, the founder of Her Love Power, a movement I created for anyone who's rising. This is where I sit down for real conversations to talk about what's hard to say. Stories, healing, heartbreak, truth. This is not a space for perfection. It's a space for voice, for honesty, for quiet strength. Before I ask anyone else to share their story, I want to share mine. The story I'm going to tell is about a relationship that looked normal on the outside, but slowly erased who I was. And I wouldn't even have left that relationship if the disrespect didn't get so bad, so undeniable, that I had no choice. That's when I had my awakening. This interview is personal. I'm sharing my story of emotional and psychological abuse and of what it means to rebuild yourself after losing your confidence completely. Because too many people are living in this kind of relationship and they don't even know what it is yet. I want to welcome my first guest in Her Love Power, The Garden of Truth, Julianne Lottner. Thank you so much, Julianne, for being here today. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here and to share my story with you. Julianne, can you take us back to the beginning of the relationship? How did you meet him? How did things start between you? And what did it feel like at first? I met him when he came to the Philippines as a tourist in 2015. He was actually my guest. He and his friends came once or twice a year and we just hang out and had fun. He seemed super nice, very social, a family person. It all felt light and friendly at first. Then in 2018, we got closer. Looking back now, what were the red flags, the things that seemed small but now feel impossible to ignore? One of the first red flags was how he handled our first argument. The argument was about him not helping me to clean up the leftovers and dishes. He just let me do everything. He brought in a third party, his ex-girlfriend. He said, I never had a fight like this with her. I was shocked. It happened again. Another argument, another third party, a friend this time. He always brought someone else into our conflicts, like he needed support, like he couldn't face me alone. When did you start to lose yourself in the relationship? Not the obvious moments, but the quiet ones, the part of you that slowly went silent. We lived in a tiny apartment, like cooking, cleaning up, doing the laundry, and I wasn't allowed to use the tumbler dryer. I don't know why until today. I don't understand it, but he didn't allow it, and we had such a tiny apartment. So there was the living room, and I had to hang the wet laundry in the living room because it was raining a lot, and I was asking him again and again not to drop his laundry on the floor. There was just stuff scattered, laundry on the floor everywhere, stuff, and I just couldn't deal with it anymore. But I asked him again and again and again, and no matter how I tried, begged, it didn't change until one day I exploded. I exploded. I got loud. I got super mad. I just couldn't anymore. And he, instead to feel ashamed, feel sorry, realized that I was at the edge. I mean, it was one thing that he didn't help, but to add so much, I just couldn't understand it. You love a person and you see this person like just going nuts and you just don't care. And so when I exploded, and I was hoping that he kind of still get it, because I just didn't know anymore what to do, what to say, and he would turn it around against me again. And that's when I realized that it doesn't matter what I say, how I say it. It doesn't matter anymore what I feel, how miserable it makes me. It just doesn't care. And I think then was when I started to become silent. And also, that fight that night, he told me then that everybody in Shergao hated me. And I believed him, and I didn't believe him, but I asked myself, who said something about me? And it was quite painful, because it was my life there, and my friends were there, and my happiness was there. And even, of course, it was not all sunshine. It was still everyday life, and with the ups and downs and struggles. But it was just really mean. It was really mean. And that's a trauma, that's a scar that really bruised me. But, sorry, I'm crying now, but I know that today this is that none of this was ever true. So when I later brought it up again, that when he said that everybody in Shergao hated me, that was really mean, and it really hurt my feelings, and that's really not okay. His response was, I never said that. He never said that. And how can you argue with that truth, right? His truth. He never said that. Thinking back now, there were a lot of things that he never said. Never said. What is a trauma bond, and how did it affect you personally? What kept you connected, even when things felt wrong? Because, for example, what I said earlier, that I exploded, so I did that in the beginning when we arrived in France, and there's this guilt of me I had, of exploding, of overreacting, but I just couldn't anymore, and I don't have this guilt anymore today. But back then I had this guilt, because I thought this is not how you are supposed to react. This is not how you are supposed to behave. And I can imagine, because after I didn't do that anymore, and I can imagine that some people would continuously explode, right? They would maybe not go silent the way I did. Maybe they do, but not all the time. And maybe they reach the level where they're so triggered, so, because they provoke you also. And so they explode. And each time this happens, they feel guilty, because you're not supposed to get loud. You're not supposed to shout. So you wait till you stop being like this, right? Because if you can only stop being like this, then you're not the problem. You're not the abuser. Then you wait, but it's probably like just a circle, and it just goes nowhere. And I think that's really a trauma bond, where you are the victim, but you don't see yourself as the victim because of the guilt of your reaction, because you self-reflect and they don't. In the end, you are just left with no more self-worth, and that is a trauma bond. That's why you have also no energy left to leave, and you start to believe that you are a piece, that doesn't deserve anything more. And that's a trauma bond. That's why so many people stay in this relationship dynamic. What kept me connected was that I left everything behind for him, that our life was in France now, that my kids were happy, that as long as I didn't complain, we were happy.
What finally made you leave? Was there a moment, or did it happen gradually? What was the truth you could no longer ignore?
So there were certain incidents. First, that we didn't, for 3 days in a row, which didn't happen before, I guess. And so he called me frigide. And that was the first thing, which was really awful. He said that he would go and cut off the forest, the jungle, clean the land. And I told him that I didn't want that. It's my land and I didn't want it. And so I told him, no, I don't want this. And then he said, no, I will do it. And then he said it twice. So I said again, no, I don't want you to do it. And he said it again, that he will do it. And I kind of, got irritated because I've been saying it like 3 times that I don't want it. And I just repeatedly said that I don't want this. And he just continues saying that he will do it anyway. And so that happened in front of his brother, the brother that's on my in-law, that exchanged 3 sentences with me in 6 years, that he asked to invest in our project or my project in Siargao, and without even asking me first if I would like that, this person who exchanged 3 sentences with me in 6 years. And so I was quite a bit annoyed. And so he said to me that, what's wrong with you? Even my brother said to my mother that you're angry easily. So that happened. And then what happened next was that his mother cut me off when I was speaking. And he was besides, and he knows that. I've told him many times that I find it really rude. I think generally people find it rude when you're being cut off. It can happen. I totally understand that. But so I said, can you let me finish my sentence? And that's not easy for me to do, because as a Filipina, you have to respect the elder generation, so you always, stay silent. But there I didn't want to stay silent anymore. I asked her nicely to let me finish my sentence, and she's like, I know what you want to say. And I found that even more like so rude. And I insisted again, saying, no, you don't know. And this just became a power game, right? So I just said, no, you don't know if you don't let me finish my sentence. And I looked at him beside her, like, help me, come on, like, you're my husband. And he just smiled at me and said that she knows what you want to say. And so I was really annoyed.